Welcome students. In this module we will learn about rotation and revolution, and in this module we will focus on the effects of rotation and revolution. So here is the list of effects, or we can say the effect of rotation, and the first one is apparent movement of heavenly bodies. So let's look at the picture. So students, we know very well that the sun is stationary and the earth is moving around the sun. And the earth at the same time is also moving along its axis. And this phenomena of the earth, when it moves along its axis, is known as rotation. So when we are rotating, but it seems that the sun is rising at the east and setting on the west, but actually the sun is stationary and the earth is moving along its axis. So this phenomena is known as apparent movement of heavenly bodies, and we can take one example. Like in physics you learn about this, that when we are on a moving vehicle and we look outside, then we find the poles, the trees, it seems that they are moving in opposite direction, but actually they are stationary and we are moving, or we are in motion. Similarly, in case of earth and sun, sun is stationary and we are moving, we are rotating, as well as the earth is also revolving around the sun. So therefore it seems that the sun is rising in the east and setting in the west. So this is the first effect of rotation, and this leads to the occurrence of day and night. That is, at the time of sunrise, the sun rises, and then gradually you can see in the picture it reaches the highest portion of the sky, and we say it is noon. And then gradually we see that the sun is setting and it completely goes off. So this happens because we are rotating, or the earth is rotating. So now let's move to the next factor, that is occurrence of day and night. So students, as the earth is rotating, so the face of the earth which is towards the sun will have day, will be bright and illuminated, and the other face which is in darkness, we say there is night. Now the earth will rotate further from west to east, and this portion will come towards the sun, and the portion which is bright will go into darkness. So like this, days and night happen or occur due to the rotation of the earth. If the earth would not be rotating, what would happen? If the earth would not be rotating, then only one side of the earth would be facing the sun, and it would become very, very hot and life would not be possible. Similarly, the other side also would be always away from the sun in darkness and would become very, very cold. It would freeze rather, and life would again not be possible. Now students, the third factor is the difference in time. As the earth is rotating from west to east, so what happens? We say the sun rises in the east, so the eastern hemisphere, if we consider this earth, the eastern hemisphere experiences the first sunrise, and gradually the western hemisphere. So the eastern hemisphere will experience sunrise, and students, why the difference in time occurs? That is, the sun travels from one longitude to another, from east to west. So this is the east and this is the west. So it keeps traveling from one longitude to another, and so there is a difference in time. So this is the third effect of rotation. The fourth effect is deflection of winds and ocean currents. So students, let's learn that due to the rotation of the earth along its axis, why the winds deflect? The winds are supposed to move in straight path. We know that the winds move from high pressure to low pressure areas. Then why they get deflected? Why they do not move in a straight path? The reason is that the earth is rotating. As the earth is rotating, so the winds cannot move in a straight path. A force is generated due to the rotation of the earth, and that is called Coriolis force. So because of the rotation of the earth, a force is generated, that is Coriolis force, and this force do not allow the winds and ocean currents to move in a straight path. Rather, they get deflected towards their right in the northern hemisphere and they get deflected towards their left in the southern hemisphere. So, right in the northern hemisphere and left in the southern hemisphere. So, this is the law, and this law is known as Ferrel's law. I'll write the spelling, it's Ferrel's law. And the force generator is Coriolis force. So, students, this is the effect, one of the effect of rotation. Let's proceed. Now, the next is occurrence of tides twice a day. So, this is the another effect of rotation. Let's understand tides first and then we will understand why they occur twice a day. So, tides are actually the rise and fall of the sea or ocean water, and this is pulled by the gravitational force of the sun and moon. So, sun is far from us, so its gravitational pull is much lesser compared to the gravitational pull of the moon, because moon is very, very close to us. So, the moon and the sun, both of them pull the water of the planet, and this causes rise and fall of water. So, when it rises high, especially at night, the moon pulls more, so at night there is high tide, whereas during the day there is low tide. And students, when there is high tide, you can see the water has swelled. You can see this swelling, this is actually showing the water, the rise in water. This is high tide. So, when there is high tide at one side because of the gravitational pull, the other side, just to balance it, will also have a high tide. And this will be because of the centrifugal force. So, this will counterbalance, the centrifugal force will counterbalance the gravitational pull of the moon. So, both sides will have high tide. On contrary, water will be pulled from these areas. So, these areas will have low tide. So, the other two sides will have low tide when there is high tide on these sides. So, students, this happens because the earth is rotating. When one side is facing the moon, there will be high tide, and the other side will have gradually the tide will lower and it will become very low. So, like this, because the earth is rotating, tides are caused twice a day. In this place, there will be high tide and then again there will be low tide. So, on all the places, there will be high and low tide all over the earth in the coastal areas. So, the coastal areas will experience tides. Now, the next effect of rotation is the shape of the earth. Now, children, if we talk about the inception of the planet, then it started from we can say Big Bang. So, Big Bang, if you remember, was a huge explosion, and after this explosion, a nebula was formed. Nebula, a gaseous cloud, and this cloud kept on rotating in spiral manner. As it rotated in spiral manner, it had immense energy, and from here, all the planets and heavenly bodies have formed. So, this is an assumption, and this is actually a theory and supported by several scientists, known as Big Bang theory. So, the Big Bang considered to be an explosion after which an infant universe expanded billions of times. Can you imagine? The universe now is limitless, boundless space. It is such so huge that we do not know the limit and the boundary. We do not know the extent of the universe. So, after Big Bang, all this happened, and we say after Big Bang, or as a result of Big Bang only, all the planets were and all the heavenly bodies were formed. So, if children, if you look at the picture, the earth is, you can see at the pole it is flattened, and at the equator it is bulging, means it is broader at the equator, and at the poles it is flattened. So, if we say it's a sphere, it's not a sphere, it's not a circle. Rather, it is flattened at the poles. So, we use the word oblate spheroid. We use this term oblate spheroid for this shape of the earth, where it is flattened at the poles and bulging at the equator. Children, we also use another word, and you are very well familiar with it. The word is geoid. So geoid is also the shape of the earth, and we also use the term oblate spheroid. So students, the shape of the earth is also because of the rotation. Let's discuss how. Suppose you take a glass of water in a transparent glass, and then you put a lot of salt and sugar in it. You can put either salt or sugar or both of it. And then you start stirring. A time will come when the water will get saturated. It will not be able to hold more of salt and sugar. So you will see it will start accumulating at the center. When you are stirring it, it will start accumulating at the center. So now this, if you compare it with the earth, earth has also formed because of rotatory motion. Like a potter's wheel, he makes a pottery and it comes out to be round in shape. It never comes out to be rectangular or square shape. It always comes out to be circular. So as the earth has also formed due to rotatory motion, so it is having a roughly circular shape. And what happened, as in the glass I said, if you put salt and sugar, an excess will accumulate at the center when you are stirring it. So same thing happened in case of earth. When the earth was forming, the heavier materials accumulated at the center and the lighter ones got collected or settled at the top. So like this, the earth has three concentric layers, and you are aware of it: the crust, uppermost layer, the mantle, the second layer, and the core, the innermost layer. So students, all this happened because the earth is rotating. So the rotation of the earth has given it the shape, and also the concentric layers have formed because of the rotatory motion. Now students, we will learn about the effects of revolution. So this is the list of effects. First one, aphelion and perihelion. So these are two different phenomena that occur when the earth is moving around the sun in its orbit. Apparent migration of the sun, change in season, equinoxes and solstices, and varying length of day and night. So these are the effects of revolution. We will learn about them one by one. So the first one, we should learn about the concept of revolution, and then we will learn about the factors or the effects. So revolution is the movement of earth around the sun in an elliptical path, or we can say orbit. We name it orbit. And students, if you look at this picture, it will give you an impression that how the earth is moving all around the sun, and while moving in every position, if you see the axis is parallel. So the parallelism of this is known as parallelism of Earth's axis. So this also happens when the earth is revolving around the sun. Always the axis remains parallel. In any position it is, the axis will remain parallel. This diagram also explains you about the change in season. So we will discuss this later. Let's proceed. So the first effect is aphelion and perihelion. So these are two phenomena. Aphelion happens in July when the earth is approximately 152 million kilometers away from the sun. It is the farthest distance, means the earth is farthest from the sun in its orbit in this position, and the earth is closest to the sun in its orbit in this particular position, which is known as perihelion. You can see the distance, it is approximately 147 million kilometers, and in case of aphelion it is 152 million kilometers. So students, this is the first effect of revolution of earth around the sun. The next one is apparent migration of the sun. Students, just now we have learnt in case of rotation, in the effects of rotation, that the apparent movement of heavenly bodies. So similarly here also the sun is stationary, whereas the earth is moving around the sun. So it is moving and it takes about a year, that is 365 days and 6 hours to complete one revolution or movement, its complete movement around the sun. So a position comes when it is summer in the southern hemisphere. You can see it's summer in the southern hemisphere. So here the sun will migrate towards the south, that is south pole, and it will be vertical on 22nd December on Tropic of Capricorn. This phenomena is called Dakshinayan, and a position will come where the northern hemisphere will be towards the sun and it will have summer, and the sun will travel towards the north pole. It will be vertical on Tropic of Cancer on 21st of June. So students, this phenomena is called Uttarayan. That is northward migration, apparent migration of the sun, and southward apparent migration of the sun is called Dakshinayan. So students, apparent migration is said because sun doesn't move, rather the earth is moving around the sun in its orbit, and therefore these phenomena occur. That is Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. We call them apparent migration of the sun, northward migration and southward migration. Now let's move to the next effect, that is changing season. So students, we are aware that season changes because we are moving around the sun. The earth is moving around the sun in its orbit. So let's take this position. Here the southern hemisphere is towards the sun is facing, or the southern hemisphere is inclined towards the sun, so it is having summer. And you know what, the earth will proceed further and this position will come when it is in between position 1 and 2. So here this will be autumn, and gradually it will move further. So in southern hemisphere it will be winter. It's summer here, then autumn, and then it has moved totally away. You can see in this position the sun is vertical on the northern hemisphere. The northern hemisphere is inclined towards the sun. So more of sun rays will be experienced on the northern hemisphere, and northern hemisphere will have summer. So when northern hemisphere is having summer, the southern hemisphere is having winter. Further it will move, and now the northern hemisphere will have autumn and the southern hemisphere will have spring. And then further it will move, and then again the season will change. That is, from spring it will come to summer, and from autumn it will come to winter. So like this, both the hemispheres, they have their own cycle of season because they are just opposite to each other. The reason is, when one hemisphere is inclined towards the sun, the another one is away from the sun. So this is how students' season changes due to the revolution of the earth around the sun. The next effect of revolution of the earth around the sun is equinox and solstice. So students, equinoxes and solstices, these are two different phenomena. So let's learn when they occur and how they occur. What is the condition, or we can say what is the situation when this or these two phenomena occur. So solstice is the word which means sun standing still or reaching the highest point. So solstice means sun standing still. It's a literal meaning. It seems that the sun has become still either on Tropic of Cancer during the summer of northern hemisphere, or Tropic of Capricorn during the summer in southern hemisphere. So this is the point where the sun reaches the highest point, and during its northward migration, Uttarayan and Dakshinayan. So during its northward migration and southward migration, when the sun reaches its highest position, that is either Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere or Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere. So students, will understand more. I will show you a diagram and explain. So it is experienced on 21st of June. So the summer solstice of northern hemisphere is experienced on 21st of June, longest day in northern hemisphere. Sun rays are vertical on Tropic of Cancer. And on 22nd December, longest day in southern hemisphere, and the sun rays are vertical on the Tropic of Capricorn. So students, we have read the thing about solstice. So solstice, literal meaning is sun standing still. It seems that the sun has stopped on a particular latitude, Tropic of Cancer or Tropic of Capricorn. It is the last limit of overhead sun. Beyond this, the sun cannot be vertical. So on 21st of June, longest day in northern hemisphere, it is summer solstice, and on 22nd December it is the shortest day in northern hemisphere, and it is winter solstice. So there are two solstices, summer solstice of northern hemisphere and winter solstice of northern hemisphere. And students, just opposite happens of southern hemisphere, because southern hemisphere has summer when northern hemisphere has winter. So as their seasons are opposite, their solstices will also be opposite. 21st June is summer solstice for northern hemisphere and winter solstice for southern hemisphere. So students, I hope you have understood the definition. Let's look at the diagram. This diagram will make the concept clear. So here, if you see this position, the northern hemisphere, sun rays are vertical, or sun rays are, we can say the northern hemisphere is actually inclined towards the sun. So here is Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degree north. So sun rays reaches vertical up till here. After that it becomes slanting. So this is the last limit of overhead sun. And on 21st of June, the sun rays are vertical on Tropic of Cancer, that is 23.5 degree north. So this day is the longest day in northern hemisphere, and it is known as summer solstice. Summer solstice for northern hemisphere. Now students, if you look at this position, the northern hemisphere is away from the sun. The northern hemisphere is away from the sun and the southern hemisphere is towards the sun. So the sun rays are vertical on 23.5 degrees south, that is Tropic of Cancer, on 22nd December. So this day, it is the longest day in southern hemisphere but shortest day in northern hemisphere. So it is winter solstice for northern hemisphere and summer solstice for southern hemisphere. So students, this is how solstices occur. We have to remember that on these 2 days, that is 21st June and 22nd December, 21st June sun rays are vertical on Tropic of Cancer, and on 22nd December sun rays are vertical on Tropic of Capricorn. So like this, these 2 days, in 21st of June is the longest day in northern hemisphere and 22nd December is the shortest day again in northern hemisphere, and just opposite is for the southern hemisphere. So students, this is the concept of solstice. There are 2 solstices, summer and winter. Now we will learn about the equinox. So what do you mean by the word equinox? It means equal nights. So children, nights, if nights are equal, then days are also equal. So 2 days in a year, 23rd September and 21st of March, during these 2 days, sun rays are vertical on the equator and days and nights are equal all over the world. Once again, on 23rd September and 21st March, sun rays are vertical on the equator and days and nights are equal all over the world. Now, 23rd September is autumnal equinox for northern hemisphere and 21st March is spring equinox for northern hemisphere. So children, all this we'll learn in respect to northern hemisphere, and you have to just assume the opposite for southern hemisphere, because northern and southern hemisphere, they have opposite seasons. Let's look at the diagram to understand the equinox. Okay, so to understand the equinox, as I said, in this position, it is summer in northern hemisphere in this position. As it proceeds further, then it starts moving gradually away from the sun. So as the northern hemisphere starts gradually moving away from the sun, temperature starts reducing and a position comes when the sun rays are vertical on the equator. So this date is 22nd and 23rd September. This is known as autumnal equinox for northern hemisphere. During this date, the days and nights are equal all over the world. So this is a fact. This is known as equinox, equal days and equal nights. Now as this northern hemisphere proceeds further, it is now away from the sun. So it is having winter. It will experience winter solstice on 22nd December or 21st December, any of the dates. And then as it will proceed further, it will again start coming towards the sun. But it will be in the midway, neither totally towards, neither totally far away. Students, I am talking about northern hemisphere, so don't get confused. So in these two positions, northern hemisphere is in this position is towards the sun, this position is away from the sun. But in these two positions, it is in the midway. So sun rays are vertical on the equator. Therefore, during 21st or 22nd March also, sun rays are vertical on equator, days and nights are equal all over the world, and we call it vernal equinox or spring equinox. So students, this is all about the occurrence of solstices, that is summer and winter solstice, and equinoxes, that is autumnal equinox, vernal or spring equinox. So students, that's all about solstices and equinoxes. Now the next effect of revolution of the earth is the varying length of day and night. So the length of day and night vary because of the revolution and the earth's tilt along its axis. So students, if you see, this is the axis, this is the equator, and this is the circle of illumination. So circle of illumination divides the earth into a brighter half and a dark half. So students, in this position of the earth, the southern hemisphere is towards the sun. So more heat of the sun will be more towards southern hemisphere and less towards northern hemisphere. So if we see the northern hemisphere, you see at the equator days and nights are equal, but as we are moving ahead, you can see the length of the day, it is reducing, and here only night at the poles, there is no day. As we are moving ahead, the length of the days are reducing, it's reducing, you can see the length is reducing. But if we move towards southern hemisphere, then you can see the length of the day is increasing as we are moving away from the equator. And at the south pole, there is only day for 6 months. And at the north pole at the same time, for 6 months there is only night. So this happens because of the revolution of the earth around the sun and its tilt along its axis. So students, that's all. These are the effects of revolution and rotation. Thank you very much.